Waterproof Galaxy flagship, a slew of new wearable gadgets, an Android Nokia phone. MWC 2014 was a veritable avalanche of adventure and surprise, and we've got the dudes who saw it all in person here to fill us in on just what it was like on episode 085 of the Pocketnow Weekly, the once-a-week audio podcast where we discuss smartphones, tablets, and wearables. From the United States, I'm your host, Michael Fisher, editorial director at Pocketnow, along with my trusty auto aficionado, Taylor Martin. Hi-ho, neighbor.
Hello.
And joining us from Europe, fresh from their Barcelona adventure, everyone's favorite Romanian-Honduran duo, editor-in-chief Anton D and multimedia manager Jaime Rivera. Good morning, guys.
Good morning to you.
Good morning, and it's going to be good morning for an entire week, man.
Now, this is fun because we've had two people on one mic before, but never, I don't think, have we had our chief Honduran staying with our lead Romanian. How long is that happening for?
For at least a week, or until I kick him out.
I think the second will happen earlier.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit off the air about whether you were having any Romanian coffee or not. Neither, nor are you having palinca. You're completely dry at the moment.
Well, you wanted a sober for the show, right?
Not really. No, I mean, you told me that and I was a little disappointed.
Let's hang up and we'll be back.
Yeah, let's try this again.
Hey, Michael, has a package arrived from me yet?
No, because you didn't send it on time.
Well, it'll arrive today, and when it does, I think you'll be happy.
Good. Did you leave me a...
Let's ask whether you sent him the extra bottle of palinca so that we can all get palinca on the pod.
Oh, that would be great if we all synchronized our palinca drinking on the weekly.
That's what's in the package. Not to ruin the surprise.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I'm gonna love a couple of dupes from those synchronizing.
So Jaime, did you sample palinca on the MWC trip?
Oh, well, I sampled palinka on my first MWC trip 2 years ago.
Oh, that's right. So you were familiar already.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He was the first one to get the vaccine.
I understand. Okay.
I haven't had a cold ever since.
It's a wonderful, full of antibodies, that palinka. I have some announcements before we get started, while we have Jaime on the air as well. The Pocketnow Daily is, I believe, and stop me if I'm wrong on this, Jaime, is on hold for this entire week, correct?
Well, yeah, it's pretty much over. We're going to start our remaining edition of the Pocketnow Daily as of Monday.
What do you mean, our remaining edition? Is the daily...
He's planning on shooting the daily here, outdoors, and I'm going to see how that goes.
That's going to be interesting.
That would be fun. But when you say it's pretty much over, you do not mean like as in whole, right?
No, the week is pretty much over.
Oh, so okay, all right. Yeah.
Obviously, there's no option for daily now, but that's actually the reason why we planned this trip the way it is. So obviously this week was all MWC and it's done now. And now as of next week, obviously we have a regular schedule back, only that I'm not in Honduras. So we're going to take advantage of the new scenery for a new
video.
No
green screen.
And there's no green screen, yeah.
That's right. Well, I'm very, very glad that you'll be trying to shoot a daily from outdoors. I think that'll be a lot of fun. There's some wonderful scenery, as I recall, from Anton's review photos.
It's gorgeous, dude. You have to be here.
This. I'm looking forward to seeing the photos and hearing the stories.
But I'm actually talking more about the walking scenery than.
You're talking about the human scenery, are you?
The static scenery.
We have nice people around here.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, very nice. Beautiful people.
When you're driving with a Romanian on a Porsche, you can imagine.
Oh, I forget that you guys are rolling in the Porsche. Yes. Well, I hope that the rest of the trip exposes you to a lot of beauty in all its forms.
This human being has turned into a rock star already. You should see that.
It's your matching leather jackets that's really going to just earn you a lot of fans.
It's just like our shirts back from IFA, if you remember, Michael.
Yeah, I do remember. So see the listeners, see the Pocketnow Roundup if you want to get a semblance of the daily, and we'll do our best to hold it together until Jaime can find some suitable static scenery.
Yeah, and we'll have the MWC 2014 recap up hopefully in a couple of hours after recording this podcast.
And what about the bloopers?
The Blueprint, we'll work on those over the weekend, so we're hoping to get them up early next week, as well as the Insider.
There's just a lot of censoring that has to go through.
Oh,
I understand. I know what it's like to apply beeps.
We have a lot of stories to tell, but before we do, I just wanted to mention this. I talked to Jaime like 5 minutes before the podcast, and I was saying like this, quote, we just got back from MWC, and we can't remember crap about it. And we were in the middle of where the news happened, and we're completely not knowing anything about news.
And it has nothing to do with palinca.
Yeah, no, I know, and because you're in trade show world, and it's that like weird little bubble where it's just an impenetrable domain. But that's okay, because we're going to put it through some filters for you, and I'm sure we'll have a lively disagreement about something, and it'll be fun. Let's just tell everybody that it is very possible that next week we will fulfill our promise to have Evan Blass on the weekly Ev Leaks. We couldn't do it this week because we wanted to do an MWC thing, but I think we're going to finally make that happen next week as things settle back down to normal, so stay tuned for that. And a review announcement, I think this is what Taylor was referring to before when he was talking about shipping me things. The Nokia Lumia Icon review is apparently declaring the Icon the best Windows phone ever, and that review is up. I'm surprised, actually. Taylor's getting tea. God, talk about the worst timing ever. Well, when Taylor comes back, maybe he will grace us with a word or two on the Icon, but it'll already be too late. Gentlemen, what say we dive into some of the news from MWC? We're not using our usual categories this time around. We're going to go by manufacturer, and tell me if you disagree, but I think the biggest OEM from this show was Samsung.
True, I agree with you. Only that I would share that first spot in terms of excitement, announcement, and everything with Sony's Xperia Z2 launch.
So
Exactly.
I really want to talk specifically about that, but let's dive into Samsung first, and when we get to Sony, we'll compare and contrast. We had a unique situation this year where you guys were in Barcelona at the Samsung Unpacked event, watching all of it happen live, including the orchestra, which was like doing that Samsung theme. Do we know what that is? By the way, is that a musical piece that they had written for them? Or is that a famous one?
I have no idea. I think that's their proprietary thing, which they always play back, either recorded or live, whether the event is in Barcelona, London, or New York. That's their theme. That's their ringtone.
Yeah. Well, you guys were all seeing it live, and at the same time, I was in New York with Adam Lane, and we were watching it at the Galaxy Studio for the U.S. launch event, which was live streamed. So it was morning for you. No, excuse me. It was late evening for you, or early evening for you, and it was early afternoon for us. And we staked out the corner of the studio. We knew where a demo unit was going to pop up, and then we got our hands on it.
We got a story.
We've got a story about that.
So tell it. Yeah, what's the story?
Oh, my God. Samsung...
Let me start, and then you'll finish.
The thing is, you've got more emotion to declare what happened there.
I've been to a lot of Samsung events, and I'm telling Jaime, listen, Jaime, let's not just rush into the entire venue. Let's just try to find a spot, because I really know where the demo units will be. Like behind the stage, there will be two doors on the sides, and those will open. Yeah. So let's find a place. Okay, so like a couple of minutes before the event is done, we just stand up from the crowd, get to that specific door, which I know that will open to be among the first ones to get our hands on, and we are the first ones there. And then the security guy comes, and he says, no review units here, no nothing.
The exit is the other way.
The exit is the other way.
Oh, no.
No, wait a second. Just imagine this. This place had how many people,
About
Tony?
5,000 at least.
Yeah, okay. So imagine this. They open the doors. Those 5,000 people begin rushing out, assuming that the review devices, because obviously since we were the ones that were at the door, we were the only ones that heard that.
Yeah.
Right. So they open the doors, and those 5,000 people swarm to the lobby looking for units.
Of course.
No units. And then some Samsung people.
Imagine a lot of ants, and once you start stepping on them, they just run around like crazy.
Okay. People going upstairs, downstairs, just running around the venue looking for the hands-on.
And the lobby had a lot of the stands which were empty.
Yeah.
Oh, God. So it was a bait and switch.
Yeah, and at one point I'm asking them, dudes, where are the review units? And everybody's like, yeah, behind the stage where they usually are.
Oh, no.
So when you least expect it, after 5 minutes of people swarming around the place, they make an announcement. Please make way to the device experience lounge behind the stage 5 minutes after people are running around the lobby.
I'm totally trying to beat each other to the device.
1,985th people.
Exactly. Exactly.
No.
You know, I was really, really, really upset. Really upset.
Security guy, once again. Just
No, honestly, I don't think it was a security guy's problem. You know, Samsung played something very, very irrespectful to the media.
No, they may have, I think they probably just weren't ready. It sounds like that Experience Lounge had a problem that they had to fix all of a sudden, and they just decided they weren't going to make an announcement.
With the insane amount of waiting for like 1.5, 2 hours standing either outside or in the lobby before they opened up the doors for the actual venue, that's what Samsung does. So they're usually playing this. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I mean, just saying you can do things in a more elaborate manner.
It's funny, like I saw part of that crush because I think Sam Pullen was tweeting pictures from it, and I just saw the usual throng of thousands of people between him and the demo devices, and I was like, wow. Our experience here at the Galaxy Studio could not be any different. Like it's small. It was like I felt like I was in someone's apartment.
How many people were there in New York?
Probably 150. 200, but if that, yeah. And then so we walk in, and the minute we get in there, I'm just like, there's a security guy hanging out by a covered table, and I'm like, Adam, where are the devices? He's like, it's under the cover over there. I'm like, oh, really? So I go over to the security guy. I'm like, hey, man, is there a Galaxy S5 under here? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay. So is there one like right at this corner? I'm like. We're pointing at a specific area on the table, like we're getting it boxed down to like the millimeter. He's like, yeah, it's right there. So it's like, okay, how long until the event starts? He's like, about 90 minutes. I'm like, all right, Adam, I'm going to stand here for the next 90 minutes. And that's what we did. We kind of hung out and got our shots ready, and we shot a couple pre-rolls, and the covers came off, and we immediately had device hands-on time. So
we were lucky because I spotted my own Romanian language being spoken just a couple of meters from us, like 75 people away, but a couple of meters from us. And I just rushed over to my co-nationals and said, guys, whenever you're finished with that, just don't put it down, hand it over to me. And that's how we managed to get them.
Oh, good call. Nice. Yeah. Well, so finally we all got our hands on the devices. Except for Taylor, who was backing us up from the Carolinas, and and we spent some time with it. Guys, what was your first impression when you got your hands on the Galaxy S5? You had seen the presentation, you knew what was coming.
We had two impressions. The first impression we had when we were inside the venue and the presentation was going, and we first seen the phone unveiled and projected on the big screen. I think we both were at the same time like, meh.
Because we saw those leaks. We remember those gold leaks that with the Band-Aid look on the back.
But we had all brushed those leaks off because the company's CEO had said that they were going to launch something completely different for the show.
Well, it is.
And I didn't brush it off. I thought it was
in the sense that they changed their focus on what they're doing with the product per se, but it's pretty much the same phone.
And the second impression came after that initial impulse cooled off, and then we started looking at things the way we should look at things, like taking a step back and looking at the bigger picture.
Sure.
And while looking at that bigger picture, this is a great phone.
Okay, so I think we are all
Tony's opinion.
Yeah, and I think we are all of different stripes. Now, Tony, this is a rare thing. I think you and I agree on that. Because listeners, if you haven't seen the editorial lineup on this, I wrote a piece called "The Galaxy S5 Doesn't Suck as Much as Your Nerd Friends Say It Does," because I think it actually does offer a lot that's quite compelling. Taylor Martin responded with a piece called "The Galaxy S5 More of the Same," which is exactly the opposite opinion. And it seems like we are two to a side here, gents. So
we are.
Why don't we say, Tony? Why don't we ask you why is this a good device? What does it bring to the table?
I think I will quote exactly what I said in my outro video, that we need to look at things this way. Samsung has an extraordinary brand recognition, so we need to just forget about the leaks, which are either fake or just fake, and understand the fact that the Galaxy S5 is indeed not an iteration, but an evolution of the S4, which is an evolution of the S3. And while being that, it not only has faster processors, so better overall specifications, but it also has some very useful features. Now, did we expect leather or aluminum? Yes. Did we get rubber? Yes. But then again, this is a active-like phone. This is a ruggedized phone up to a point, so there's no really way in doing that with another plastic or aluminum. So all things aside, I think that this is a phone which will be the best-selling Galaxy ever. It will outsell all other Galaxies, And I don't see the problem. I mean, Apple does the same thing with its devices. They follow the same general guidelines. The S5s look like the S4s, yes, but then the HTC One Max and the One Mini look like the HTC One. So everybody has a signature design, and Samsung is just doing that, taking that to the next level.
You know, I will add to that something that you touched on, Tony. I think Samsung has yes, there do remain gimmicks on this device. So I made a big point of saying that the focus is less on gimmicks with this iteration. Then of course everyone just jumped on the most obvious thing and said, "Well, the heart rate sensor is a big old gimmick." Yes, of course, yes, it is. They have not entirely left that DNA behind, but look at what else they've done. That immersion protection. You know, I mean, Sony's been doing it for ages, and now Samsung has finally looked at a competitor, said, "Hey, we should do that. Let's do that, and we're not going to confine it to an active version of the phone. We'll just make the flagship itself waterproof." You know, the software is improved in terms of fluidity. How was your demo device, guys? Was it smooth?
Yeah,
it was good.
It was
good.
So was ours, and I was really, really surprised. And I was the first one with hands on it, so I was like, "Wow, okay, this is how it is after a fresh boot." And it's smooth, and it looks better. It's not award-winning better, but whatever. I mean, these are nice improvements. I really don't like the look of that perforated back panel, but
I can live with that. I don't like the look of the new rounded icons within the settings.
But that's where we're completely separated in opinions. Like,
so, yeah, Jaime, go.
I'm torn with this phone. First of all, I love the fact that it's rugged. I love the fact that I do like the fact that they've kept the design in a way, because I actually did like it. I didn't mind the design. I guess my biggest problem is, number one, that another thing that I like, just to finalize, is the fact that, yes, this is a phone with less gimmicks. We've been asking for this. We've been asking for Samsung to stop focusing on things that we don't use, and they've done it.
Sorry to interrupt, the so-called gimmicks are still on the phone.
They're still there.
Not in your face, but you have to dig into the settings for AirView and all the other ones.
But then we go to the things that I don't like. What do I don't like? For example, they did this very simplistic flat UI with the settings, but then the rest of the UI is very similar to what we already knew. So it's both skeuomorphic and flat.
Right.
So it's kind of mixed. And I wish they would have done it uniformly. You know, they would have flattened everything within the UI.
I agree with that completely. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing where I'm like, okay, did they finish this product? Because it seems like if they focused on flattening some parts, but they couldn't do with the rest. And then I'm actually disappointed that they didn't bring the tablet UI that you guys saw at CES or something similar, because I really like that card UI and that whole ambience thing.
Well, they brought a fragment of it with the the My Magazine bit, which has been revamped.
But not in your face on the home screen.
And then another thing that I didn't like is, okay, so if you're a current Galaxy owner, like Galaxy S4 or Galaxy Note 3, I'll tell you this much. I have an S4 and a Note 3, and if I'm a fitness buff, I love to do it, and I would rather get me a Gear that will give me a heart rate monitor where I actually need it, which is in my wrist.
Yeah.
And you know, I would have rather they invest on a Xenon flash or something on the back instead of that heart rate monitor, which is really useless for me, because, I mean, what if that would have been like a glucometer or something that somebody that's sick really needs? But a heart rate monitor is, I don't know. Why would I need that on the phone?
The heart rate monitor on this thing is like the golf shot of the Galaxy Note 3. Like, it's that weird one-time, single-use feature that only a small subset of the user base is going to appreciate.
How would it make more sense on the inside of the band of the Gear?
And it is there.
Exactly.
I mean, that's exactly where it is on all of the Gears.
For example, what did I like about this event? Oh, different types of gears. I love that.
Well, hold on, wait. We're going to talk about the Gears in a second, because those are really important.
But I guess for me, it's like, okay, we were on the train with Tony, and he's like, man, 100% of the people that either use a Galaxy phone or an iPhone use a case. So what is going to be the point of this heart rate monitor if you're going to be using it with a case and your finger's going to have a hard time fitting in there?
Well, maybe, that's true right now, but this is not an iPhone at all. But it's also not an S4 or an S3, because it's not coded coated in hyperglaze that scratches when you breathe on it wrong. Like this is a woven like glass fiber and polycarbonate blend of some kind, and it looks it looks and feels rather rugged. So I think
it does.
People will not carry this in a case quite as often, unless they get the gold one. But I don't know. I mean, I would get the blue myself, but I think this one is one of the first flagship class devices you can carry without a case and be okay with it from Samsung.
If I understand it well, to sum up the European part of Pocketnow's presence in Romania, our opinions, about the only one or two reasons you would need to upgrade your current S4 and Note 3 is whether you need to take underwater pictures, or you are a clumsy guy or girl who splashes some sort of fluid on your phone, or you specifically are a spec head who really has to have the latest specifications. Else, I'm sure that the ROMs will come out for the S4 and the Note 3 with the new UI, with the new settings. So, in my opinion, only this segment of the market and those who are first-time Samsung Galaxy S purchasers or those who need to upgrade will really upgrade to this phone. But me, having an S4, will probably not upgrade to the S5.
So that's a good question. So let me get the flip side of this. Taylor, you've heard some of this. You wrote an editorial specifically addressing this. What are your opinions?
Well, it's ugly. I'm just going to say it, right? Like I'm
Bottom line.
I'm not going to beat around the bush. The phone is just hideous, and I've never really liked Samsung's design or I guess design language. It's not been something I personally like, and outside the Note line, there's nothing that would really entice me to purchase a Galaxy S phone. I mean, it's just yeah. So I don't like the design. That's completely, totally subjective, and I'm totally aware of that. That's fine. People were calling me hypocritical in the comments because I have an opinion that differs from theirs.
Well, it's typical comment behavior.
Yeah.
Yes.
Welcome to the internet.
Yeah. Right. So I don't like the way it looks, and that's on me. I understand that, but the problem that I have with Samsung is that it's still okay. So it's listened to the complaints of users, and it's started to fix the appearance of the UI. But it hasn't paid attention to the bigger problem, which is not the UI, but it's the size of their software. I think it was Android Central who just took a stroll through the storage subsetting menu and found that on the base model, the 16 gigabyte model, you have less than 8 gigabytes left to the user after your first boot.
Yeah.
Dude, but you got a micro SD card slot.
Yeah. Well, when you can install apps on your SD card out of the box again, then that complaint's valid. But it's just why? And the headline, or the caption that I used in the article was "Pretty or bloat is still bloat." And part of it is that you are forced to keep Samsung's stuff whether you use it or not. Chat on, something I've never used in my entire life, is there for good, and you can't do anything with it.
Yeah.
Unless you root, and that argument is dead in the water.
On that note, Taylor, if there would be within a week or two from the availability of the S5 a Google edition of the S5, would that make anything change your mind?
For my personal use, probably not.
Especially when you can get the Google Experience launcher now.
Yeah.
Launcher. I just loaded on the Note 3. It's like, love it.
But I have no qualm saying that it's a good phone. Not at all. It will sell millions, probably more than anything else on the market. But for me, it is more of the same. And that's what I want to round this out with. Taking a look at some other manufacturers at Mobile World Congress, specifically YotaPhone, and Michael can say what he wants about YotaPhone. Stuff like that is what really, really, really intrigues me. I would deal with a slightly worse user experience for features that I'm actually going to use, like an e-ink display on the back. Mm-hmm. But from Samsung, the reason I think I'm so quick to hate on them is because, Samsung has so much money that it can invest in R&D. So all that money that it's saving by using plastic instead of metal, why doesn't it just invest some of that money into R&D and push the market forward, adding a heart rate sensor on the back of your phone or a fingerprint scanner on the front that few are actually probably ever going to use? Why don't you put that time and effort into creating something that's actually useful. So last year we learned that its software features really weren't all that useful. Air gesture, air view,
no, they're all
plans,
pretty half-baked,
yeah, all those were just kind of to sell the phone. And that's what Samsung cares about. It doesn't care about pushing the market forward and truly innovating features that are going to help users. It cares about moving units, and that just rubs me the wrong way.
That makes sense. And every company, to a degree, is about moving units. But I agree that other companies are able to balance that better and actually bring new and very useful things to the market. And
are you trying to suggest that Samsung is the new Apple?
I actually told Tony this is like the great opportunity for an editorial that says, "Okay, Samsung, now you're looking more like Apple than ever."
Yeah,
because this was like, come on, Samsung. I can't believe they come up with a curved display. They've come up with so many things last year, and we get the same phone with just a couple of, not even the software changed.
I'm remembering back to the first Samsung device I ever reviewed for Pocketnow, which was the Galaxy S3, and I remember that thing coming out, and my expectations could not have been lower, and it blew me away. There were definitely things I didn't like about it. There's a lot that we've been over and over and over again, but when it came out, it had a whole bunch of features. As usual, some of them didn't work right, but on the S3, a lot of them did work well. I still remember some of the core of some of these ideas, like Smart Stay, being like, wow, that makes sense. If I look at the phone, I want the screen to stay on. If I don't, then I want it to go off. Of course, it didn't work in the dark, but this was the first time we saw some of these things. And it was bundled into a device that I think as a result of legal action, there was still a very different legal landscape back then with regard to Apple. They had to do something really different with the hardware. They had a different motivation to do that, but the end result was a device that actually looked different. I see the S3 out in public today, and I'm like, wow, that thing! Look at how rounded it is. It's not like much else out there. And with the S4,
Pebble-esque.
It is. It's Pebble-esque. And when they've gone back to the with the S4, they made it more boring, and then the S5 is just I don't think it's boring, but it's just weird. So I don't know. I think Samsung's had some up and downs here. You can counterbalance those with the water resistance, but then you've got that fingerprint scanner thing, which you mentioned briefly, Taylor. And it's like, what? Okay, when they said they were putting a fingerprint scanner on the home button, at first I was like, oh, cool. Wow, the home button doesn't look any different than a regular home button. That's awesome. And then they revealed that they were using the swipe method. And I'm like, you guys, no.
You saw my video.
Horrible. You saw my video. Yeah. Did you try to? Did it try to learn you? I forgot what happened because I did. It included in my video too.
Actually, I tried for a long time to make it learn my fingerprints, and it just failed. And we'll just brush it off and say that this is probably a pre-production software. I'm waiting for the device to get an ROI.
It doesn't matter. It's in the wrong place for a swipe action fingerprint thing. If you're going to do a swipe thing, you do it on the back. You don't do it on the front in the home button when you press and hold is the only thing that works down there because it's a frickin' button.
Well, it works. But it works differently on Touch ID. It's just we did a comparison with the 5S, and man, it didn't matter how many times I tried. I did my best, and that fingerprint scanner just did not capture my swipe.
I think I'm usually a separate opinion, and I'm going to wrap my opinion on the S5 with this one. Once in every 10 years, I agree with Michael. That just happens, and now it's that time. But I also slightly disagree. So my biggest problem with the S5 is that it only has 2 gigs of RAM. It should have 3 gigs of RAM. Correct me if I'm wrong. Well, it has 2 gigs, right?
2 gigs,
yeah. But why should it have 3 gigs?
Because the Note 3 has 3 gigs, and TouchWiz, as it is now, needs 3 gigs, especially if you're going to use all the applications which come bundled, or even if you use the gym, the activity applications which can constantly run and monitor and do stuff. But that aside, I don't really have a problem with the S5. Whether it looks good or bad, that's up to everybody, so we don't need to discuss about the looks. And in terms of features, is there a heart rate monitor? Yes. Will you use it? No, don't use it. Will you use it? Yes, use it. Same with the fingerprint scanner. So what I'm trying to say is, as long as they keep the price at the same level and not bump it because of these things, which you might or might not use, then it's just like an option. If you don't like it, don't use it or disable it. And that's it.
Yeah, and like on a product level, that makes sense. But I mean, what this says about Samsung's future strategy actually fills me with a little bit of hope, because for all of the things that we can find to complain about with it, I really think this signifies a move toward actually listening to people and providing things that people want. Heart rate monitor, fingerprint sensor aside. And I think if the company had had more time after their agreement with Google, we would have seen those software improvements, Jaime, that you were looking for and that I was looking for. Because this build of TouchWiz screams to me rushed, flattening and slight tweaking to get it out the door, to give it good performance, and to make it look like we did something different with it. I think if they had made that agreement with Google months and months and months ago, we would have seen an entirely different TouchWiz.
Or nobody. I'm sorry, nobody rushed Samsung to announce the S5. We were, I had a hard time believing up until the last moment that we're going to see the S5 in February, like 10 or 11 months after the S4 announcement, and coming back to the show. So they could have done the same, announced it in April. They would have had 2 more months to, I don't know, work on the software side, make it beautiful, make it more beautiful. And then, but no, I think they wanted to beat HTC to the punch this time, because if the rumors are true, the S4 sales weren't up to Samsung's expectations. And
do you think they cared?
Dude,
I think they cared.
Listen, we were so incredulous. Is that a word?
Yeah,
yes. It is now.
It is now.
No, that's a word.
In Spanish, it is incrédulo. But we were so incredulous of a launch of the S5 at MWC that we finished filming the intro, and we start walking towards the train, and we look at the sign right beside us in front of the venue that says "Meet the next Galaxy," and I'm like, dude, do we go back and record that whole segment again? So he's like, nah, let's leave it like that.
Yeah, I watched your intro and I was like, because I had never had the doubts that you guys did, and kudos to you for your skepticism, but I was like, no, yes, we're seeing, it's called the Unpacked 5 event. Of course we're seeing the Galaxy S5. And it just cracked me up because I'm watching the intro. I'm like, oh, guys. Oh, we're going to have an S5. Come on.
Do we go back and refilm this?
Now, tell me.
Let's go get food.
Because it's interesting to me that you say like they wanted to beat HTC to the punch, because we have an editorial that addresses this straight up, again from Taylor. I don't know that Samsung really cares too much. And
you know how I know they care?
How?
It's not necessarily because they wanted to be the first one. So if the announcement would have been now, and availability within a week, 2 or 3, I would have said, okay, Samsung doesn't care about HTC. But this is what Samsung did. Samsung made the announcement now to make the announcement before HTC's announcement in March.
Yeah.
But guess what? The S5 will be available in April after HTC's announcement.
Yeah. Right, and also they had a worldwide stage to do it on with MWC, and it was interesting, by the way, to see a major manufacturer come back to MWC for a huge announcement.
That's I think a first.
And that was cool
In a while.
That was probably one of the high points of MWC, the fact that Samsung came back.
Yeah.
If we take HTC's launch date for the One last year and compare it to the Galaxy S5's launch date, so that's April 14th for the Galaxy S5. Mm-hmm. And April 19th for the original One. If HTC launches the One around the exact same time, like the actual 1 year mark, they're going to be launching within days of one another anyway.
Interesting.
Yeah, so and it gives them like more than 2 weeks. I think it's 20 days or something, or more than 20 days. Almost 30 days. No, I don't know what it is. I can't do math.
Okay.
But they're March 25. And their 1 year date would be April 19th. So it'd be almost a month after they announced it. So I think they could announce it and then launch it within 2-3 days of Samsung.
Huh.
So that to me shows that it really doesn't matter if Samsung wanted to beat HTC to the punch, because nobody's going to be able to really buy these things until around the same time anyway. Okay. The only thing that would really matter is if Samsung has or opens pre-orders, around the time the HTC One is
out. Does a great job in working for Samsung in terms of SEO and keywords, because the new Galaxy or the S5 are already super hot in trending keywords, and that's going to be a huge major win against HTC, that they're going to be higher ranked on search engines for this specific phone.
And guys, there's a lot of food on the table right now. The iPhone 6's rumors are starting to get strong. There's a lot of reports that it'll be launched in June, and that it'll be bigger and better than ever, according to the rumors. So, think about this. The Galaxy S3 was the best Galaxy ever sold. These people are about to leave their contracts this spring. So this is like the best time to launch the S5 early enough to lure these people away from an iPhone 6.
Sure.
And I feel that that's really the strategy that they're focusing on.
If you're going from an S3 to an S5, that's a massive jump.
Yeah,
exactly.
And I would recommend that, absolutely, yeah.
Exactly. So I feel that they're really doing it to capture the S3 customers back.
Okay. Let's also, regardless of how these devices compare right up against one another, HTC One, 2, all new HTC One, and Galaxy S5.
Horrible name.
Yeah.
Anho.
Hashtag
Anho.
Hashtag Anho. The Galaxy S5 is going to launch accompanied by a massive ecosystem of hardware, specifically wearables. Let's talk a little bit about those. We expected the Galaxy... I'm going to do this all the time. We expected the Gear 2 and the Gear 2 Neo, not Galaxy because they're running Tizen, which is weird. But we did not expect the Gear Fit, I don't think. I think that was a surprise to pretty much all of us, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I remember like when when Peter Chow, and it's Chu?
It's Chu, by the way.
Yes, it's Chu.
It's not
Chow. When Peter Chu held up the wearables when he came out, and he's like,
we're talking about. Hold on, Peter Chu is CEO for HTC.
When J.K. Shin, I'm sorry, jeez, I'm an idiot. When J.K. Shin was out there, it's early here. And
Samsung subcontracted HTC CEO to announce its new product.
Yeah, that's the world I apparently inhabit early in the morning. Sorry, I'm dumb. No. But when he was like, "Hey, check it out, we got 3 new wearables," and I remember looking up in the Galaxy Studio, being like, "What are you talking? What 3? Like I know that we're expecting the Gear 2. What's this?" So we had the Gear 2, and the Gear 2 Neo, which we were expecting, and then the Gear Fit pops up. I immediately was smitten, as they say, because this thing, and on one respect, it's like a Fitbit ripoff, but it's so awesome. What do you guys think of it?
I like it. That's the way the fitness band should be. It's like, this is really going to kill the purpose for you to ever buy either a Nike Fuel Band or a Fitbit for $150 when you can just, this is really going to, and here's the strategy. It's just so cool looking that it'll make you be like, okay, this is a reason why I would buy a Galaxy, because it obviously only works with a Galaxy phone. Mm-hmm. And, it kind of makes sense. And if they figure out a way to bundle it, it'll be even better.
Okay, here's my opinion. Guess what? Can you guess it?
I can guess that you don't like it.
I don't like it. Here's why. Because not like the other morons who say, "Dude, this sucks," and that full stop. No, the reason why I don't like it is that, okay, everybody can make a wearable which has a heart rate monitor, has a software, communicates with a phone, aggregates results, and so on. What I don't like about it is the actual usage scenario, the ergonomy of it. And
I know what you're going to say. Yep.
Yeah, this comes down to this. We have a longitudinal display. Yeah. Once that is on your wrist, you either have to twist your wrist completely. Can you explain this, Michael, better?
Yeah. Because the display does not the display bisects your wrist. So if you raise it like a wristwatch, it's going to appear vertical to you, and you're not going to be able to use it. You're going to have to turn your arm. So the only way to use it effectively is to wear the thing on the inside of your wrist. And do it that way. Yep. And that's
not this problem, yeah. But else, of course, it's great for those who work out. I personally use a different heart rate monitor, which is a more professional, not a consumer-oriented thing. But sure, if you're just trying to lose some weight, stay shape, or get in shape, get fit, that is absolutely a great thing. But unfortunately, that's not enough when it comes to me twisting my wrist and arm in order to see everything. Like, I'm trying to literally do it now.
Yeah.
I look like a moron.
So
like
if you want to wear it on the outside of your wrist, you can't do it. If you want to wear it like a regular wristwatch, it won't work like that, I don't think. But if you're willing to wear it on the inside of your wrist, I think it could actually work pretty well. And as I said when I was trying the thing out, I'm like, I'm not even a runner. Like, all you guys, you guys are exercise guys and whatever, and I don't do any of that, and I don't care about the heart rate monitor or any of that. I just want a cool-looking smartwatch. And this is the coolest-looking smartwatch I've ever seen. It's got that curved AMOLED panel, which is beautiful. It's the software is just as pretty as it is on the Gear 2 stuff. Like, it really looks amazing, and even wearing it on the inside of the wrist, like, that still can play into their Samsung's strategy, if they're going to persist in this, of using nostalgic advertising, because some of those future watches did in fact go on the inside of the wrist. So it's like, I think this should be the centerpiece of their strategy, not these iterations on the Galaxy Gear that frankly aren't that impressive.
Now, one question, guys, because I really don't remember this. Does the Gear Fit include the 4 gigs of storage, just like the Gear?
It does not. Wait. It doesn't let you do the voice calling, and I don't think it has local storage. But let me look that up while.
Okay, because here's the deal. So I am a runner, and for me, using the professional heart rate monitor on my chest is extremely uncomfortable because it slides down as you're running. So you have to either wear it really tight or and for the average human being, that's not a problem. In my case, I sweat more than the average human, so for me, it's really common for it to slip.
Good for you.
And then wearing and then wearing anything that's bigger than an iPhone on my arm is uncomfortable as well. So I'm forced to either use an iPhone or something. So for me to actually just use the watch, have my music there, and have the watch track everything and not need anything else is actually something cool. But, I'd actually be willing to sacrifice and just use the Gear and not necessarily the Gear Fit just for these features.
I'm not sure whether it records on the watch and then syncs or whether it
does.
It does?
It does. But I'm not sure if it can on the Gear Fit. I know that the Gear does, but not the Gear Fit.
The Fit. Are you able to just leave your Galaxy S4 or 5 at home and it will record your statistics and then sync them to the phone?
Yeah.
Or does it have to be in constant connection with the phone? In which case you have to buy the S5 because that's waterproof because you sweat a lot.
No. It does. That's really the cool thing, that you can just use it alone. I'm just not sure if you can also carry music with the Gear Fit. I know you can do it with the Gear, just not sure about the Gear.
I'm not seeing a mention of that. The spec sheet doesn't mention onboard storage on the Fit. So I know you can't make and take calls on it, and I think onboard storage is the other difference.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I'm looking forward to getting wrist on time with the Gear Fit. I'm looking forward actually more to Jaime and Anton, if it's possible, using it too, because I'm not going to be running around the neighborhood like with my sweatband.
You can't run with a burrito in your hand, Michael.
Michael Fisher, you are Mr. Phone Santa. Please indulge us with the Gear Fit, and we'll definitely film all the videos you want.
In Jaime's bizarre world, I'm the gatekeeper of all these devices that never make it to him. I'm like, Jaime, no, I don't get these either. You understand?
We smuggle them into Honduras.
Yeah, I love I am not terribly stoked about the Gear 2 and the Gear 2 Neo, and I want to hear y'all's opinion on it, because they've incorporated a lot of improvements to the original Galaxy Gear. They've made the bands switchable. They have added that onboard storage that you were talking about before, Jaime. But these things are they're smaller, they're lighter, but these things are lacking any of the personality, I think, of the original Galaxy Gear. They removed the pronounced screws. The band has been minimized because it no longer has the speaker on it, so it's like a more traditional band.
They removed the wart.
And yeah, listen, I'm not going to complain about the missing camera wart. That's fine.
You're the only one in the team that's actually used the Gear as your daily driver. So why don't you tell us what you don't like?
I don't like that they... But I'm in the minority here, okay? So I don't like that the band is now switchable. I understand that it offers more choice, and I'm all for that. But the sacrifices they've made to do that have resulted in a device that just looks rather dull. It's the Neo is polycarbonate. The Gear 2, I think, is still metal. But the screws are gone on the outside of the casing. Not a lot of people like the look of those. I happen to like the look of those.
That was one thing I did like about it.
Yeah.
I wish Pebble Steel had some kind of industrial thing like that, like some giant screws in the sides. And I
mean, they look... I'm looking at the original Gear now, and they look pretty good still, I think. And then they've put this big old home button underneath the screen, which I understand if you want to make the experience consistent with your smartphones. Okay, fine. But no, do the other thing. Take the stupid home button off your smartphones, because home buttons are stupid. And
unless that's like one of those optical trackballs or trackpads.
It's not.
It's. I mean, if they did,
then that would make sense.
It would make sense on a watch.
Maybe
on something so small.
At least it would be interesting. Like they've taken it, they've moved it from the side where it's actually easier to hit, and put it down below. Oddly enough, it seems like it's easier to do, but pushing a button down below the screen on your wrist sucks.
How many of you did you use an iPod Nano?
Wait, like the wrist one?
No, just like the simple player, the small square one.
Yeah, I had one, and it was horrible.
Okay. So the only reason why Samsung put the home button on the smartwatch was for you to not swipe back 3 times to the home, but to push the button. Now, back in the day of the iPod Nano, Apple had no home buttons, and a long tap would take you back to the home. Boom, problem fixed, no home button, shortcut to the home.
Or you could just swipe up from the bottom of the display.
And you swipe down from the top.
I'm just saying, like, there could be different gestures to remove the need for a home button.
The gestures are still there. That's the thing. Like, they still use top-down swipe from back gesture. So if you're going to eliminate the gesture-driven interface, fine. Then you put a button on it, then you rethink the whole thing. Okay, cool. But that's not what they did. They threw a button on there, and they still didn't do anything to change the existing interface. So you can still swipe down from the top to go back to the home screen, and that feels better. It takes less effort than trying to stab a stupid button.
You know what they did with the button thing?
We stab buttons all the time, Michael.
They put the button on there just to piss Michael off.
Yeah, that's true.
No, I'm going to tell you exactly. This is an exclusive prediction. The Gear 3 will have the same button, but it will be swipeable for your fingerprint.
I'll tell you this much. I do like the Gear. And I do like it because it's more useful than a lot of things. Like, for example, again, for me, it's uncomfortable to actually wear a heart rate monitor. For me, it's uncomfortable to, I don't know, like I have a smartwatch, but then other people have their Polar watches, their GPS watches. I like to just have one product that does everything.
Sure.
Cool. Why not? I'm okay with that. So I don't know. I guess that this would be like a smart. For example, the original Gear had a lot of problems with it. The battery life was terrible.
It wasn't. It wasn't. The battery life was terrible at launch, and then they fixed it. Yeah, the notifications were terrible at launch, and then they fixed them. That's the thing. The Gear was not a bad product ultimately, but it launched in an undercooked state. That's Samsung's fault, yes, but the product now is quite good.
So you're saying that maybe Samsung should have focused on continuing to improve the original Gear instead of launching the Neo and the 2, and just launch the Active Fit, whatever its name is, and keep the original Gear while keeping its updates coming.
I think that if I have no problem with new products. You know me. I love the new and shiny thing. And if you're going to launch a Galaxy S5, you might as well launch a new wearable with it. But I just don't agree with a lot of the changes they've made because I'm just not convinced they were necessary. So I guess that's what I'm interested in. I mean, like Jaime and Tony and Taylor, anybody. Do you like the look of the new one? I mean, do you like the look and feel of it as compared to the original?
The only reason why I like it is because I can't see the wart anymore, and that's enough for me. That was the biggest problem in terms of aesthetics for me. And
the reason why I like it, again, the sensors, the addition of the sensors, the additional storage that allows me.
No, but in terms of aspect, the looks of it, just as the way it looks on your wrist.
I don't see it any different to the original. I'm sorry. And for me, it's like I see it and I just remember the original Gear. That's the way I see it. Whereas, for example, if you look at the original Pebble and then look at the Pebble Steel, you're like, wow.
Yeah.
There's just a huge difference.
Absolutely. Now
for once, I agree with Tony. The wart's gone. I'm happy.
Yeah, the wart's gone is good. Yeah, no, that's a good thing. I'm interested to give it a shot. I don't hate these things. I know I'm the Debbie Downer on this. I just was kind of hoping for more. And then what do we think about the switch to Tizen, guys? This is a very strange thing in the wake of Samsung's apparent make nice session with Google. I wouldn't have expected to see Tizen hit on a major release.
I'm not sure they are able to fit Android on a wearable with such low specifications. So that then
they did it on the Gear, Tony.
But then again, they added more features which required even more horsepower, and the horsepower is maybe just a little bit improved. So I think that there's two aspects here. The first one, they didn't want to continue delivering the Android experience because of the specs, and number two, I think they're testing the waters a little bit in terms of Tizen, both with the Gear and with the looks of the settings within the S5, just to see how people relate or react to that. And it's going to be inevitable at one point that Samsung will launch a different line with Tizen to compete with its own line of Android phones. So I think that they're just trying to see how people react or adapt to this change. It's a testing the waters thing, in my opinion.
I think it's just a double bird to Google behind its back.
Double bird.
My opinion, yeah.
All right.
Just flipping them off.
You know, when you get companies like Nokia, which we'll talk about soon, doing Android phones, you get to wonder if it's really a stab at Google. I mean, it's an open source platform. You can do whatever you want with it. So they're not really forced to move to Tizen. I mean, they could fork it as much as they want, and Google cannot do anything because they created the animal.
And additionally, having your own platform on your own product, Apple has proved this for years now, it brings you better results. It would have probably been more difficult to tailor Android to that specific need of the gear, but then they can build all the way from the ground up Tizen to fit that wearable.
That's a good point.
Well, as we move off of this, I want to ask all of you guys, if you have a choice of three of them, you're presented with a choice of all three, and you can only pick one for your personal use. Which one do you pick, Tony?
Neither.
What?
Oh. Neither.
Oh, neither. You don't want anything. Somebody comes up to you with 3 boxes, they say that you can have one of these for free. You're like, no, thank you, goodbye.
Yeah, no, maybe if you tell me what you want, I'll want that and ship it to you.
All right, that's not exactly a valid answer, but that'll work. All right, Jaime.
So now I'll take the full gear.
The Gear 2?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And why? Storage?
Well, come on, dude. We're geeks. We want the most capable one.
Okay, all right. What about you, Taylor?
Which one's the most expensive?
Is pricing announced on these yet?
Resale value?
I bet the Fit's going to be the most expensive just because of that. I think they can get more money from it thanks to its svelteness and its curved screen. I think they can ask more and they'll get it. So
I'll take the most expensive and sell it on eBay because I don't have a Galaxy phone.
you guys are the worst people ever.
If you don't have a Samsung device, they're useless to you. So why would I have one?
Because we're playing a hypothetical game. I'm asking you if you would.
Between the two of them, so let them just do that.
I wanted to respond Pebble Steel, but you didn't give me the option. Sorry.
That's true. All right, I would take the Gear Fit, and we all know why I would take the Gear Fit. Or we've talked about the Steel a billion times. Okay, that's a wonderful time, great times, enjoyable thing. Links in the Samsung section. Let's move on. We'll talk more about that in the weeks ahead as we get our hands on demo units and so on. Now, you were saying, Jaime, that the other big thing that brought you, that impressed you from the show was the massive Sony launch, which you guys seem to think was on
that was me. No, that was me.
I'm sorry, it was Tony. So you guys seem to think that was somehow on par with the Samsung launch, but I don't get it. Why is that?
I'm not talking about the entire event, and I'm not talking about the entire portfolio.
Okay.
As in terms of portfolio, I think that Samsung took it home.
Yeah.
And in terms of specific phones, in terms of specific 2014 flagships, and this is my personal opinion, I really think that the Z2 is the better phone between the Z2 and the S5. And not necessarily because the Z2 on paper has better specifications, but because the Z2 tailors better to my own needs. It is a beauty to look at, but again, that's a subjective thing. It has the glass sandwich aluminum thing, which I really liked about the Z1. So as I said with the occasion of my Z1 review, that would have been my daily driver if the camera would have not sucked. And I'm going to say this a million times until people believe me. When I got the Z1 in that initial condition of the software, the camera sucked. Now the Z2 improves on that with a larger sensor, with a better optics. So I'm hoping if it's going to be a better user experience. Now the Z2 is for the moment the Android phone of the year for me.
So, and the display is fixed too, right? The viewing angles.
It's already been fixed since
on the compact.
Michael, you have to see that display, Michael. I actually brought the ZL, and I felt it was just not even worth filming a comparison because it's night and day.
Yeah.
So if I had to buy an MWC phone, and it was from my cash, and I had to choose one, the ZL would take the cake. I'm sorry, but the Z2, sorry. It is a very beautiful phone. The display is just gorgeous. It's very gorgeously implemented. And, hey, I've been using iPhones ever since they launched, and for me, this is the iPhone for Android. It's just the build quality of this phone, the feel in the hand.
Water and dust proof.
The sound of the speakers, everything, and, the fact that the camera's pixels are now bigger, the sensor's bigger, sorry.
Is this the same sensor as on the compact, 20.7?
It's the same 20.7 megapixel sensor, sensor, only that the physical dimensions of the sensor are larger, bigger. So we're seeing more light getting in, larger pixels within the same sensor, and an improved optics. And I also hope an improved software algorithm that transforms whatever the sensor sees into good-looking JPEGs.
And that was already, like, they had already really dealt very nicely with their noise problem on the Z1 Compact as Island.
And the Z1S as well.
The Z1S as well, yeah.
Honestly, if I had to buy a phone, that would be it for MWC.
Nice. What is the Snapdragon 801, guys? Is that just a very minor tweak on the 800? What's the story there? Why is it an 801?
Well, the Snapdragon 801, if I recall was launched either at CES or before CES, and you guys should just give me a little time here until I find that particular article, because I wasn't so shocked about the 801. I was expecting the 801.
It's identical. Yeah, it's
a slightly faster Snapdragon 800. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Roger. All right, well, that's cool. So, I mean, we're going to see the same Sony skin as we're used to. We saw this all in the video. So this is... but here's my thing, because we have a uniquely American mindset, or we do. Me, this one person over here in this gray box has a uniquely American mindset because that's where I live. But I'm going to see a bunch of Galaxy S5s on the shelves here in the States, and I'm going to see billboards and bus wraps and stupid TV commercials that I'm probably not going to like. I'm not going to see a single bit of advertising from Sony, and I'm only going to see this thing probably on one shelf, and that's T-Mobile USA's shelf, and I don't really go in there.
You'll have to wait like 6 months for that. Remember, we reviewed the Z1 back in the summer, in August, and it landed on T-Mobile only after CES.
Oh, the Z1, yeah, right.
Yeah, it's going to probably be the same thing all over.
My question is, do we think that Sony's going to change that behavior at all? I mean, they have a device that can compete. They have a device that can beat other devices on the market and look good doing it. So why the lack of U.S. focus? Do we know?
Well, remember when they launched the Z and the ZL, the company's CEO was very specific that they were going to stay away from the U.S. market and focus only on Europe and Asia, and that was going to be their target. And they kept that strategy for pretty much the full year until they announced the change in focus. But I'm trying to remember if it was by the end of last year or at CES. I don't remember where he mentioned that. So I guess that we have seen that lack of presence intentionally last year, and I believe that it's something that is going to change. Now, obviously, all is yet to be proven.
And I think that if they have not planned for a U.S. push, now that they have seen the S5, they will, because I've been talking to different people at MWC from different OEMs, and I'm not going to name any of those, and believe me, the general perception was that people are relieved after the S5 event. Relieved, as in now we have a better chance. As in they were expecting much more, something that they couldn't get to, something which should set a new target to play catch up to. But now seeing that what the S5 is, these different OEMs, regardless if they're high-end or lower-end or mid-tier, they now really think they stand a chance. So to put it in plain English, and you have to bleep it up, they think Samsung up.
Everybody thinks Samsung up.
So that's kind of what I said in the piece that I wrote about more of the same. Last year, Samsung kind of pushed the ball forward with the S4, and it did so with the S3, and it's kind of been driving the momentum for the Android market. And this year, it was just kind of like, take a step back, and it's not really pushing forward that hard anymore.
Did you say they were pushing forward with the S4? Because I think that was the most iterative and overblown and underwhelming device I've ever seen from them.
Right, yes, but I guess in purely in a specification standpoint, yes, they were. Just specifications, yes.
Okay.
But not necessarily like innovation or anything. They were pushing hard with specifications they always have since the original Galaxy S.
I actually saw some complaints from people this year because they expected another round of that from the Galaxy line, which is supposed to be this hardcore, awesome users line for the ultimate top shelf, and that's not what this is.
Well, there's also a rumor circulating on the Barcelona show floor that we might see not one but two Samsung flagships, and I'm not talking about the S and the Note, but we might see the S, we've seen it, the Note probably at IFA, and people believe that there might be a summer flagship phone, which could really be, the aluminum phone, the no gimmick phone, the premium phone, the real flagship.
Yeah, remember the Galaxy F rumors and everything.
And if that happens, then Samsung's smart.
So I'm still so stuck on this Sony thing, and not just because that's where we are on the rundown. I know we have to move on, but let's just end on this note. What Do we think the Z2 is going to change anything for Sony?
Yeah, I do think that the Z1 already changed a lot of things for Sony. They are back in the game, not as top players, but they are there in the game with a solid device, and they improved and they built on that solid device. And I think that at the moment, they have the best Android phone on the market right now, right there.
Do you think we'll see a Z2 compact?
I think we will see not only a Z2 compact, but we will also see soon American variants, not only one, but maybe two in the US.
We better, because it would be wonderful to use these on a more regular basis.
That's what I would do if I would be the CEO of Sony, because they really have a standing chance now.
Well, I would say that that'll happen when hell freezes over, but that has already occurred with the creation of a Nokia Android phone. Can you guys, time it? Like, I mean, either of you guys, can you bring us through this event? Can you tell us the story here of what this was like to be there for?
I was shocked in the first place. I was shocked to see Stephen Elop on stage, and I was asking Jaime, like, I love the guy. He's one of my top CEOs.
Awesome presenter. For me, his keynotes are the best.
But I had no idea what he was doing on the stage, because he obviously is no longer CEO of Nokia. He no longer works for Nokia. He now works for Microsoft. He's head of devices division. And he wasn't there in Microsoft quality. So he was there, I think, as we say around here, he was the circus bear that was shown off on stage.
Circus bear?
Yeah, we have the saying around here. They brought Stephen Elop to the stage to give it even more, how should I say this, emphasis to this event.
Well, he does work for Nokia. He's the executive vice president of devices and services for now. And because the acquisition will close soon, and yeah.
Then I take it back.
Yeah, but I see what you mean. No, but I understand, because he's no longer. I think he was playing a figurehead status at this event to launch this phone. But what was it like? Like, he's up there. He's like, hey, what does he say? Like, hey, we got an Android phone. Here it is.
Well, it was interesting because he never really mentioned Android per se. He said that the Nokia XX Plus and XL line are based on Android open source project.
Yeah.
That's the exact phrasing he used. And then he quickly turned to say that this is a phone which is focusing on Microsoft services. So with this specific phone, we are continuing to aim at users using Skype, Outlook.com, Office, and all the entire Microsoft suite. And they will probably do a heavy vetting on which Android applications will get into Nokia Store, because the bootloader is locked. Sideloading is at the moment not possible, so you're confined to running Android apps which are approved by Nokia in the Nokia Store on the phone.
Right. So Joe Levi wrote an interesting editorial calling the Nokia X not a real Android phone, and I really like this debate, because yes, it runs Android, but it has this kind of custom UI layer on top. You're confined to this app store full of, it's like, I don't know about you guys, and maybe this is a little short-sighted of me, but whenever I'm running a Windows phone, like, the only time I'm using, like, Nokia's Here Maps and, like, Nokia Music is because I don't have a better alternative, because I'm using a Windows phone. I would not willingly use them on a device where I could sideload something that is superior, you know?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Yeah, so I failed to be moved by this. I mean, everyone was so jazzed about this. The device is launched, and I think regardless of the size, correct me if I'm wrong, but these are all devices for emerging markets. Then none of them are going to blow you away. Go ahead.
And that's actually what I wanted to say right now.
Please.
We are not their target.
No.
We're definitely not their target. They want to make a big push in emerging markets, specifically in India. And, obviously they're having trouble because the price is no longer a setting stone for Android. We've got the Moto G. I mean, they're going head to head on price points, and I guess they wanted to win in that own turf. If they're having trouble moving developers towards the platform, what they're trying to do is creating Nokia customers. Really, I think that what they're trying to do is push their brand farther. And I think that the phone is capable. It's not ugly. It's not pretty. It's just the mid-tiered phone that the UI is really interesting. It's very snappy. The only reason why you know it's Android is when you go into settings. Settings looks exactly like Android. But then the rest of it is Nokia.
Well, then I'm going to come in and say that I don't like them. The physical aspects of the phone on the outside, it's just Nokia signature. I'm not going to talk about that. You either love them or hate them. But not necessarily those tiles, those pseudo tiles, because they don't resemble anything. They don't look anything like the real tiles on Windows Phone. But I get it. They want to have these three phones nicely fitting into the Windows Phone portfolio, which is good. But then again, my biggest problem is that how on earth can you have a low-resolution screen on a super huge device? Because I was literally, I'm not Brandon here, but I was counting the pixels, especially on the XL.
Right, but of course, and that's part of that whole like mid-range push, right? It's that low-end emerging market.
For 109 euros, absolutely, yeah. But if I'm a typical user, or any of you guys, what would be, aside from the price, that single point which would push you towards buying one of these three phones when you have devices like the Moto G, like the S3, for instance, or even the S2, which is also a capable full-fledged Android phone? Why would you buy a Nokia X?
I mean, it would come down to availability, because at some point, and I think companies definitely understand this, yes, a 3-year-old device that is technically superior might suit somebody better, but people don't want to buy a 3-year-old device. They will settle for reduced specs if the thing is new, Mm-hmm. And this thing is tailored specifically for certain types of customers with features that are, I think, going to be geographically unique to where they're offered. So it's like, I don't think, I think Jaime made a good point before, and I certainly agree that these are not for us. These are not for people who think like us, or necessarily have the kind of disposable income that people in the flagship market really
I think
have.
I'm going to wrap up on this, that it will create a Windows Phone-like frustration. And let me explain this. I, as a Windows Phone user, am often frustrated because I don't have a proper official YouTube app, a Google Plus application, Gmail, and so on. And
yeah,
this
Google Plus, definitely.
This frustration
Shut up, Michael.
Sorry,
This
Tony.
frustration will definitely be present on Nokia X and its users, because it's like you're rocking a Porsche without the Porsche engine. I mean, I'm rocking an Android phone without the ability of installing YouTube, Drive, and all the other applications from the Google suite. So I think that, I'm not sure, I would never buy this phone.
No, and I think that underscores the point. It's not for us. This isn't the kind
Absolutely,
of thing.
yeah.
But so the thing I was saying before, and I was aware of this. I mean, we've all been aware that this is not a device for us. But the readership seems to have expected like a Nokia Android phone that was going to blow everybody away, and now there's this kind of interesting backlash, and it's like whatever. That's not going to happen. My question is, do we think that this will continue after the Microsoft acquisition actually closes?
Absolutely, because there are three lineups now. It's the Lumia lineup, which is the high end. It's the X's, which is the mid tier, and it's the Ashas. And Nokia really had to fill that gap. Now that they will probably in the near future no longer oust Lumia phones, and even if they will, the Asha phones are too low end for the target which they had in mind. So they really couldn't have a lower end Windows phone, and they couldn't have a higher end Asha. So they were like, why don't we just fork Android and have a mid tier target?
And not only that, just think about this, guys. Who owns the Windows Phone store?
Microsoft.
Okay, who makes that 30% cut?
What is it? 30%? Then Microsoft.
Okay, so who owns the Nokia store on Android?
Nokia, Microsoft.
Nokia. Okay, they're bridging to a different type of market. They're looking for ways to make more money out of software and services. And yeah, in the end, this is a Microsoft company, but Microsoft is just figuring out more ways to make money out of software. And this is just like the Amazon ecosystem. Amazon, their whole intent was to make money from the App Store, from selling the services. And Microsoft is just trying to figure out new ways to make money out of ecosystems,
but it's not Microsoft that's doing it. It's Nokia. It's not. There may have been Microsoft influence, but it's still a separate company.
Of course. But I guess I can't blame Microsoft for using the Mac Pro to build the games for the Xbox, for example. They're just shamelessly using another source of income, and they can nail it. Why not?
Plus, with the Microsoft acquisition of Nokia's devices division, Nokia still has to continue to live off of something, and the Asha phones will not provide.
Yeah.
Well, but that's Nokia. But that's that other division of Nokia that's not going to be doing this this Nokia X stuff. All this stuff is going to get absorbed by Microsoft. This isn't the stuff that's staying with Nokia, right?
I'm
So that's the thing. I think the minute that acquisition closes, Microsoft is a pretty prideful company, and I really think that they're sort of, all in on Windows Phone. I would not be surprised to see the plug pulled on this right after the acquisition happens.
Well, Joe Belfiore was really upset with the announcement of it.
Really?
I don't know if you didn't catch his quote. Yeah.
No, what was his quote? Where were you getting this from?
Let me. I don't know. I read it. Joe Belfiore, Nokia X. Let's see if I can find it really quickly.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a second. This is new to me. So I was, for me, it was like, oh, this is a smart strategy. They're opening up a new app store, and they're going to make money out of Android apps. Why not?
This is not Microsoft's thing doing it. This is Nokia's thing doing it, and the Nokia, part of Nokia, which is not Microsoft.
So you guys feel that this is going to be the next kin?
Well, actually, I mean, and obviously the company's culture has changed a lot since then, but or maybe it hasn't, I don't know, but I certainly wouldn't put it past them. I mean, I see the little touches of what you're talking about here. There are things we're less excited about, said senior executive Joe Belfiore.
Yeah.
This is from TechCrunch. They'll do some things we're excited about. This is Nokia. And some things we're less excited about, he said to a room of chuckling journalists and analysts. Yeah.
I think the first headline I read was a little sensationalist. I think it may have been Gawker or something, but it said...
No way.
Yeah. Hey, imagine that.
How can that
Internet.
Not be sensationalist?
Yeah, but it said Microsoft pissed about Nokia X. That was the headline.
Oh, yeah, all right. So anyway, we'll see what happens with it. We got to move on. Before we move entirely off Microsoft, they've announced 8 or 9 hardware partners. So the interesting part about this to me, just really quickly, is that, there's a bunch of Chinese and Indian manufacturers in here, which is cool because then we're seeing Microsoft actively say, wow, we need a low-end presence. Let's get a bunch of manufacturers to build phones. And not that I'm saying all these manufacturers are only going to build low-end phones, but I think a lot of them are. And so I think that's going to be their budget push, not this weirdo Android thing.
Disagree. This too will be the budget push. And now please correct me if I'm wrong, because nothing gets into the MWC bubble, but I've heard reports that at the same Windows Phone 8.1 announcement, words along the lines have been spoken that Android will be capable of running on future Windows Phone hardware.
No, backwards.
No way.
Windows Phone will be able to run on Android.
No. You guys talk about something. I'm going to look this up.
All right. Look that up because I'm interested to see what that is. But the interesting part about this announcement to me was that not just that we're going to see phones from Carbon and Lava and Longcheer and such, but that
What?
But that 2 of the licensees that are like quote unquote announced at this thing are ZTE and LG, both of whom had Windows Phone licenses in the past. So it'll be cool to see what ZTE does with it, just because ZTE is capable of doing some interesting stuff.
So Jaime was right. Windows Phone 8.1 will be able to be run on existing Android devices via on-screen buttons.
Yeah.
And this is actually something which was apparently said at that event. So then, why not run Windows Phone on the S5?
So here's the deal. I mean, you own your S5. I'm just not sure if you have to root your phone or something, but. So you buy a Windows Phone license and you can install it on your Android phone. I mean, why not?
Why would you though? I've never been in a situation where I'm like, gosh, Windows Phone hardware sucks. I sure wish I had Windows Phone running on a Samsung Galaxy S4.
It's the other way around. You cannot run Android on the Lumia.
Right.
But you will be able to run Windows Phone 8.1 on the S4.
No, but that's my point. Why would I want to do that? The Lumia is better suited to Windows Phone
because
anyway.
I want
it has a better camera.
Beautiful live tiles on my Galaxy S5.
Yeah, live tiles are not getting enough of the sweet plastic treatment. Just buy an Ative.
This is Microsoft on what we've heard about dual booting.
Yeah, but who cares about dual? Nobody cares about dual booting. No consumer has ever stood up and been like, "I really want to dual boot so hard."
Why not? Just imagine the average user, not neither of us.
I'm imagining the average user. That's exactly what I'm imagining.
Today I'm running the TouchWiz version of the S4, and tomorrow I can just flip to Windows Phone.
The average consumer doesn't know what TouchWiz or Windows Phone means.
Tony, okay. We saw MWC during the show and after the show. How many Lumias did you see on the trains when the show was on?
Well, it doesn't come down to that. We all know that Microsoft is really struggling for that single-digit market share.
Their business is not to sell phones. Their business is to sell software, and what they're doing is trying to figure out another way to sell software. That's what they're doing.
Well, that would be compelling. I agree that choice is excellent. Okay, so a good example of this. I would love to see Windows Phone on an HTC One. I think that would be very cool.
You're saying something very interesting there. Exactly. I mean, why would I not? So I guess they still feel that people want to run Office on their phones, as if you can't already do a lot of the things that Office can do on current services. But I guess they want that. They want that push. And just like you can run Windows on a Samsung, Acer, Asus notebook, Windows, the basic version of Windows, why can't you do it on any phone that you want if you're willing to pay for the software?
Right. And I want to call out this particular thing. Dual booting will specifically not be allowed by the terms of this thing. So it's like, okay. Here's
the thing. Like the whole dual booting thing is very, especially with Windows Phone, it's very, I guess, hypothetical and theoretical, but I think in practice, nobody would actually ever dual boot. Like if you're running Android, why would you need to boot to Windows Phone? You get what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people aren't ever going to want to do that anyway. It's just
it's if you needed Office, and there are still people who need Office. Like I get comments from college students, especially whose professors are might be old school, and it's like you need to turn in your form in a .doc file. It's like, okay, but
you can do that on
Drive, on pretty much any document editor.
Yeah. You need to make a PowerPoint. So we have a couple minutes left to go. We got to move on to MISC, but go ahead, Jaime, with your final.
Microsoft is just going back to the roots. They're trying to make money any way possible, and that's what they're doing. The question is, how much is the license going to cost you, and how long would it take to get that into XDA developers?
Here's the thing. I don't think we're going to have concrete details on any of this until A, after the Nokia acquisition is complete, and B, after Microsoft's new CEO is actually in working, and we have a new flow here with Bill Gates in his new position and everything. So this is all very early stage stuff, which is a shame because it seems like with the Windows Phone story has been like, let's wait for more news on this for 4 years.
And here's the final nail to the coffin.
It is not a nail in a coffin. The Windows Phone is fine. It'll be fine. Just fine.
While Microsoft continues to hemorrhage money into a not growing platform.
They can bleed money for the next 20 years and they'll be fine.
Sure. That's probably not untrue.
It's true. So miscellaneous, to get you guys out the door, I know Jaime and Anton have important Romanian business to attend to.
Yes. What is my Romanian accent?
You do that pretty well.
Sounded more Swedish.
Let's talk about the new Desires. Gentlemen, you had hands-on time with them. I did not.
There was actually only one device present. The 816. The other one was not on the show floor. And even the 816 was there in a capacity which only allowed certain members of the media to have hands-ons because the rest of the devices were under a slab of glass.
Raj, but you got some time with it at one of those events.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah. So what's the story? Joe Levi wrote an editorial, said the new Desires finally live up to the name. Is that the impression that you got?
I'm going to hand it over to Jaime because he's super excited about the Desire 860.
Oh, thank you very much, Dimitri. I really appreciate it. Yeah. I've been playing this game for 2 years. Sorry, guys.
Now we got to have Anton do the Honduran accent in a little bit.
I would love that. He's actually already tried a good Mexican accent. He gets it right. But it's only curse words, so we can't actually do it on the air. But
Okay,
so here's the deal. So we sadly could not use the phone. We couldn't use the UI because the phone is going to ship with a future version of Sense. And so HTC is still working on that. But to be honest with you, there is nothing mid-tier about this phone. I mean, it's glossy plastic and all, but it feels really good in the hand. It doesn't feel as big as it is. Mm-hmm. You get boom sound. If you don't want to deal with the 4 megapixel, the 4 ultra pixel camera, I guess you'll get one of the old 13 megapixel sensors that we got. For example, well, the 1X was a 8 megapixel, but. Yeah. I guess it's in that
generation.
Yeah, it doesn't have the image sense processor. HTC did confirm that.
It's a standard camera.
It's a standard camera, but dude, this phone looks really nice. I mean, it does look really nice. Even at 720p display, though I can't really talk about anything else that we saw, it's a really nice phone. I don't see... If HTC was pretending to redefine the mid-tiered department, this is probably going to be the hottest mid-tiered phone out there.
It all depends on the price it will be announced at, and it is my understanding that it will soon launch or first launch in China and Asian markets, and then around the world. Yeah. But just getting back to the phone, I have 2 problems with the phone. The first one is that I really wished for HTC to go with probably not a shiny, but a matte finish on the back plastic. Yeah. And number 2, and this is all coming down to taste. I did not like the larger perforations for boom sound on the top and bottom.
Well, until you saw it.
That's only on the renders. When you hold the phone in your hand, then you either change your mind like I did or not.
Huh. Yeah, because I'm looking at the render, and the render actually looks okay, but then I look at the hands-on, and I'm like, wow, those are some big speaker holes.
Like, I was the other way around. When I saw Peter Chu's presentation and we saw the render, I was like, dude, I hate those. No, but when I held the phone in my hand, it felt better. It looked better.
When we were at the keynote, we thought that this was a desperate measure for HTC to show some presence. And sadly, at the keynote, we weren't able to actually hold the phone because everything was under glass. And so until we actually got our exclusive opportunity to handle the phone, dudes, I mean, this phone is really cool. I mean, it looks like the higher end phone from a lot of competing companies. Yeah. I mean, after holding the Galaxy S5, because we did hold the S5 before this 816, it feels just as premium. I mean, I feel that the HTC's onto something. And I really don't know what specifically, because, for example...
Well, the chairwoman, if you remember, the chairwoman recently said, and this was a quote from, I'm not sure who, but the credit goes out to whomever quoted this. She said that this year, HTC will focus on the mid-rangers, because that was their main problem last year. The HTC One was very well received, sold very well, but the company is at loss or still going down because of the fact that they are missing a solid mid-range offering.
Uh-huh. And yeah, we did get the One Mini, but I guess they wanted to try something bigger for those markets that want that in Asia. Now, this phone is going to be retailing, to my understanding, between the 350 and 390 euros.
Off contract.
But guys, again, you get the 5 megapixel camera at the front, which is cool, and it's the wide angle camera.
This one has a larger sensor for the front facer than the one has for the main camera.
The one has for the main camera. It's just it's funny, but again, I think that. To be honest with you, once you guys hold it, if you ask me, hey, you want to review the 816, I'd be willing to do it. I really like the phone.
That will be yours.
We're in a rush.
God.
All right, I want to hear...
this is what I hate about Phone Santa.
We've now... Yeah, he's fickle. We've now talked so much... You guys surprised me. I didn't think we'd talk so long about the Desire. I really want to hear about the YotaPhone. Did you get some hands-on time with YotaPhone?
It is up as of 1 hour ago.
All right, so what was it like?
I'll let Jaime, because he handled the hands-on.
So the problem is that the prototype that they had was a real prototype, meaning not even the buttons were actually the buttons that will actually ship on the phone.
Wow.
And not even the speakers. It was a real plastic slab that is not going to be the final production device.
Did it function at all? Like, was the screen?
It did function. It did function.
And very well, I would say.
It did function very well. It was a little buggy, but you can really tell. Now, the the e-ink display at the back is curved. It's a touch screen. You know, it is really cool. I mean, it makes you ask yourself this question. Instead of dealing with a glass back that could shatter and you can't really use for more than just hold the phone, why not have an e-ink display? And this phone, it's got this rounded design. It doesn't look all, how could I say it? The previous version looked really archaic.
This one looks like a Nexus.
Nexus
It looks
S.
like a Nexus S.
Yeah, it does. It's so cool in the renders. It looks so gorgeous.
The white one is just I want it.
It's beautiful, dudes. It is beautiful. I really hope this company nails it. They treated us very well. I mean, their press treatment was very well. The girl ran us through everything. I'm really proud to say that this company has a really good future with this phone, and I do hope that they succeed.
But they're not going to release it until the end of 2014.
That's the problem.
Not getting it, and they're repeating the same mistake they did with the original version.
Yeah.
I shot it in Barcelona at MWC, and it was available at the end of the year. I'm not saying the new YotaPhone doesn't have great specs. It does, but in 9 months from now, it will be just another phone.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's true.
Now, I have a question. Taylor just shot us a link to the white one. My God, that's cool looking.
God,
is there a way
nice.
to throw something up on that e-ink display so that when you're not using it?
You can, there's a gesture, a 2-finger swipe from the top. And whenever you do that on a front screen, whatever's on a front screen in terms of a screenshot goes to the back.
Okay.
Now, one thing that you have to keep in mind is this is not really available for the rest of the phone. It's only available for the apps that are enhanced for the back screen.
Right.
So, for example, if you want to read, like if I want to read Kindle ebooks, you currently can't until Amazon ports this availability. So it really depends on the platform actually growing.
And go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, I thought I read that you could use any app on the back, but not every app is optimized.
No.
That's what I read.
You can't. They have, for example, if you want to read news, for example, they have their own specific proprietary reader.
Their own Twitter application.
Their own Twitter application.
I see.
Yeah, I know that there was an SDK release, though. So
exactly. So that's the deal. There is an SDK, but unless you actually take advantage of it, you won't be able to use it. Now, that being said, there's only one thing that I didn't like about that phone. It's like, okay, if there is one phone that I would have liked to be big, it's this one.
Yeah.
But it's not. Well, it has a
you mean physically large?
It's not
larger.
I would have wanted this to be the Note size.
Wait, doesn't it have a 5-inch screen? Like it
is a 5-inch screen.
Yeah.
The back screen is 4.7 inch,
Yeah.
and it's not high pixel density. So
right, it's QHD or whatever. Yeah.
Yes, it's not really the best. There is a work in progress here.
I think that this is an exceptional concept. Like the two of us, Michael, have agreed last year. They've managed to take it to the next level, but I continue to think that the company has not learned enough from their experience last year. They really need a push, or maybe somebody else could take this concept to the real level of where it should be.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And you know, I don't want to see them bought or anything like that. I think that, you know, that's a really good way to squander innovation sometimes. I understand, as I said in my editorial on this, that building a phone takes a long time, especially one that stretches the boundaries like this one does. And we just talked about one of the reasons why that is, because you need custom software. I get all that. But announcing like 9 months before it's available is also a really good way to disenfranchise your future customers. Because
announce it.
Announce it closer to launch. I mean, you know, you could probably get away with a concept like this. You could probably get away with announcing it like 4 months in advance. But I'm not going to be able to buy this in the United States until 2015, if I'm able to buy it at all. By which point, it's just going to be like the first YotaPhone is now. It's gonna be archaic and look archaic.
Yeah, announcing a phone so early and not launching it and not running Windows Phone is odd.
You know what? No, it's
you troll.
I kind of tried to find the explanation. I think I can nail this down to the following.
Mm-hmm.
They're making the announcement now at MWC, even though they won't be able to deliver until the end of the year, because whenever somebody else comes around with this idea, they can say that we were the first ones.
Sure,
well, I think it's patented.
They were already the first on the first YotaPhone, you know?
Yeah.
Either way,
I get you, Tony. Though.
Gorgeous,
Like, it would
and
be.
I want it.
Yeah, if I were at the prototype state with something like this, and I had a device that you guys got hands-on time with, it would be difficult for me to say no to a show like MWC, where you're at a big trade show, so you can like win those awards that some of the blogs give out. You know, like they won their CNET Best of CES
Best
award.
innovation of CES.
Yeah, the first one did. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting my hands on that. I hope we get a review unit this time because we didn't.
I do my best, and hopefully somebody from the team will get a hands on.
Hopefully. And finally, I think because I know we're 10 minutes over the time you guys said we had to go. You can chime in on Huawei if you want, but I'm very interested to hear about your time spent with Lenovo because they are the future owners of Motorola, and I'm interested in their current state of offerings.
Okay, real quick about the Huawei. I think I'm really excited about the hugest HTC One, the Iconia Tab X.1. No, I'm just messing names up. The X.1, whatever its name is.
The MediaPad X1.
MediaPad X1. That's the one with the phone capabilities and the speakers, which really looks like the HTC One. Really has an exceptional screen, high quality specs. I like that. And now getting back to Lumia. Jesus, I didn't even drink yet. Getting back to Lenovo, thing is that Lenovo is not yet acting as the owner of Motorola, and we have talked to several people at Lenovo, and we said that, hey, we're here, we would like to introduce Lenovo to that part of our audience which does not know Lenovo or only knows Lenovo by judging them by the laptops they make, because you guys now own Motorola. And they're like, oh yeah, well, on paper, because there's regulations that, yes, absolutely, but now hopefully those regulations and those regulatory approvals will come through, you will become the owners of Motorola. But until then, they still behave like Lenovo.
Sure, of course.
We want to see their portfolio of products and their presence, and that's why we did that booth tour. And they had great devices, including that, what was the name of the the 10 FHD plus, the 10 HD plus.
How do these companies expect for us to remember these names?
Yeah.
10.
The Yoga Tab 10 HD plus.
It was a tablet.
Okay.
Yeah, Yoga tablet 10 HD plus. Yeah. Tony got it.
Woo.
That's the one, and that's a great product. And they had the entire laptop lineup, the new laptop lineup. They had the convertibles. They had the 3 families of smartphones: the higher end, the Vibe Z and the Vibe S; the lower end, the mid-tier phones. So they really brought everything to a very nice booth. So I think that as we concluded in the video, Motorola is in good hands as long as Lenovo doesn't mess up everything what Motorola is.
Agreed.
So I'm saying that you guys just continue doing what Lenovo does and let Motorola do what Motorola does best. And if necessary, market the next Moto G as Lenovo G in Europe and leave it as Moto G in the US, and it's a win-win situation.
Hey, if you saw the design of that Lenovo, the really thin phone, the Vive Z, I mean, it was, oh God, it was so thin, and they have this like brushed chrome, and I don't know if it's aluminum, what sort of metal they use.
I'm not sure if it wasn't even plastic, but it was looking good.
Their build quality is awesome, and if they could, focus on design and leave the software to Motorola and bring a couple of the elements that we saw on the Moto X, they have a chance to succeed indeed.
Well, I think the hardware, it's very important for Motorola's hardware group to have a huge say in their future stuff, because Motorola's, God, they invented the cell phone, and I've never made a voice call that I've enjoyed more than on a Motorola device. And speakerphone, and Motorola has the fundamentals down really well. And Lenovo seems to know how to make really sexy-looking hardware.
So maybe a marriage between the two could bring us something really, really sexy, but I'm just saying, please do not touch whatever's working with Motorola now, because they're riding the wave.
Yeah. Cool. I want to hear your very quick thoughts before we duck out of here, gents. This, I think, was one of the best trade shows I've ever seen from far. I mean, we have a record number of videos from this show that are still being uploaded. And
you're welcome.
Well done. And but a lot of that is because there was so much to film.
But we were about to not film anything.
Why?
Well, we're meeting up with Jaime at the airport, and we take the first cab to the hotel downtown.
We have so many stories, man.
And yeah, we had to have a specific edition with Barcelona stories. And I'm like, Jaime, listen, we have a lot of bags. Why don't we pack up the trunk? And I'm gonna put my Samsonite bag, which contains one laptop, one camera, a lot of phones, a lot of tablets, all my gear.
And I wasn't paying attention to anything he was saying.
In the back seat, and I was sitting in the front. And we arrive at the destination, and I'm like, Jaime, why don't you unpack the car? I'm gonna pay for a cab, and then we can go upstairs. And that's what happens. He unpacks the car, I pay for a cab. Cab goes away. We go to the sidewalk. I lit a cigarette, and I'm just looking at the luggages, and my Samsonite bag is missing all the gear. And I'm just looking at the end of the street, and the cab is just taking a corner onto the boulevard.
No.
And Jaime said just 2 words: just run.
Just run.
And I ran. Dude, I'm not a runner. I'm a gymmer. But for a second, I really thought I'd lose all that. And I think it was either the 3rd or the 4th traffic light, I finally managed to knock on the trunk because it turned to green and he was in 1st gear. And I knocked so hard on the trunk and he pulled the brakes and opened up the door, grabbed my Samsung. For a second, I even thought that he was going to cry that somebody is ripping him off.
Oh, it's a Romanian. It's a Romanian.
Dude, that. Whew.
Oh wow! Well, good running. I'm really glad that you didn't leave that in the cab.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
Why didn't Jaime run?
Yeah, because Jaime's the runner. Yeah,
Jaime's the runner, and he forgot the bag.
I think he did not realize what was happening, but after I started running,
I had just been flying for 24 hours, man. It was not me right
by the time I came back with the bag in my hand, by that time he realized, like, he was like, dude.
I was like, the bag was there? Run.
So yeah, but that's just one story. We have a lot more, including Jaime almost burning down the entire building.
Oh my god.
Man,
I bring this. How do you call those?
The extender.
The extender of different connections. How do you call those?
The surge suppressor.
Surge protector. I brought an American surge protector and I always do that every time I travel. You remember Michael from Vegas. I had the surge protector with everything.
I think my perspective would be more interesting than yours because I'm on the balcony. It's evening and I'm smoking on the balcony and like Jaime's in the room with the lights on. And at one point, I just grab a smoke from my cigarette, and I hear, poof, and then darkness. And I'm looking at Jaime, and he has the stupidest face on. There's a little bit of smoke coming off of his extender, and he was like, dude, what the fuck is going on? And I'm like, did you really plug that 110 volt into a 220 volt outlet?
Buddy,
like,
the whole building lost power, man. Oh my god.
And that's in the movies when that silence, just no cars were moving, it was just completely dead. And I'm like, dude, whenever somebody asks us, it was not us.
It wasn't us. It was.
Let's just throw the surge protector away down in the trash. Let's hide it in the jacket and throw it out. I was like, oh my god, you're kidding me. I didn't know. Dude, I didn't know. So I put the European connector for the 110 adapter, and hey, sorry about that.
Okay, no more stories. Maybe in the next edition of the podcast.
Well, I'm very, very glad that you guys survived. You did not lose your computer bag, that you did not blow up the building with a surge suppressor, and that you were around to take all those videos and give us your impressions. Thank you for your time. Oh, now what are you off to go do? Are you going to use it party time now?
It's going to be party tonight and tomorrow evening, and it's going to be uploading the rest of the videos, plus hopefully the bloopers and the recap throughout the weekend. And next week is business as usual. I'm going to be back in my regular office. Jaime's going to be doing his daily thing, including a lot of news. And I'm going to take this opportunity to not only thank you guys for back-end support, but thank everybody, our audience, for watching our videos, for reading our posts. We tried to do our best to bring you guys coverage as soon as we could, at the level we could, because it's sometimes, and Michael, you can testify to this, both of you, Taylor, as well, it is a to actually fight your way through a lot of people to get your hands on a device, shoot that, render the video, upload it among the first ones, just to get some interesting comments, and I'll just stop at that.
That is true. That is no question about it, and we're glad that you have done it. Glad that you're done. Well done, gentlemen. Thank you, and I'm looking forward to seeing some of the devices that we saw at this show, and look forward to getting some hands-on time with it. So I think the next trade show we have is in August, so we will enjoy our respite until then.
Yep, that is true. Unless we can somehow, and this is something I'm working... No, you know what? Let's keep this under wraps.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Sounds good. All right, guys. I think we're going to head out now because I've got to edit this together. Thank you very much. Listener mail, we are going to skip this week on account of the special edition nature of the show. We all have more to do. I have to go film the Pocketnow Roundup. So thank you again, gentlemen. Taylor, you still alive over there?
Yep.
Good.
You brought me some tea?
Yes, I have a whole quart of tea right here. I have a sweet new maker, and it's awesome.
What question were you asking Taylor that we had to interrupt because he was getting tea? I forgot.
I forgot, too. I was asking about the S5, maybe. It was like the first topic. And I was like, Taylor, what do you think about that?
Oh, no. It was about the Lumia icon. The Lumia icon.
Yeah, why is
Yeah. Why is that the best Windows phone ever, Taylor?
Because the hardware is fantastic and the camera's not bad. I mean, the camera's, I would say, almost as good as the 1020s. It's not as good, but it's almost
the same module as the 1520, right?
Right. Yeah. So it's good.
Great
it's
time.
just you just don't get as much. You can't
do as much
reframe
lossless
as
zoom.
much after. Yeah, you can't do as much lossless zoom or frame afterwards.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's a fantastic phone, and I'm really trying to talk myself out of buying one for myself. So,
Yeah, you should talk yourself out of it because, like I said last week, I think I can already picture the editorial.
And as we talk about these things, I'm getting a tweet on my live Twitter feed. It's a leak, so this might be something interesting once we write about. It's the all-new HTC One for AT&T with dual cameras in the back, courtesy of Evan Glass.
those are some
The Anho. Yeah, there it is. I see that too now.
those are some rounded corners.
Yeah,
some very rounded
I like
corners.
those wide radius corners. That's nice. This thing looks, if it weren't for that other lens up there, it would look like an HTC One. But
Yeah, I was about to say that this there's another phone out there which resembles a lot to this one, and it's made by HTC.
yeah.
Maybe this is too.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will, I'm sure, talk a lot about that next week, especially if we can get Evan on the show, as we hope. But for now, we have other things to get to, and unless anyone has anything else.
No, just stay tuned to our channel because our bloopers will be epic. Believe me.
God.
They will. Yes, they will. Thank you
And
again, gentlemen.
Let's just say there was excessive female presence on the booths.
Okay. All right. We will say that for now.
Excessive female presence.
You know we're going to cut out some of these parts.
There's somebody at Twitter that took a photo of me just looking at one of the models, and he's like, "Come on, dude, focus on the phone."
Hey, it wasn't very different from that at CES. I had to edit out a lot of the footage that Tony shot because he got the wrong subjects.
That's right. Yeah, Tony couldn't frame up the phones too much.
Well, it was about the hands-on.
Yeah.
That's going to do it, gentlemen, for this episode.
Wanted to do a hands on something else.
Let's wrap it up.
Thank you for joining us, folks, and thank you for your listener mail every week. We love it, even if we don't get to it. Hey, Pocket Now, podcast at pocketnow.com is where you send your mail. Find us on Twitter. Anton is at ANTONTNAGY. Jaime is at Jaime_Rivera. Taylor is at CasperTech, CASPERTEK. I am at Captain Two Phones. You can also follow Pocket Now officially at Pocket Now on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Google+. And if you enjoy the podcast, and we hope you do, please leave us a review. iTunes, Xbox Music, Stitcher, wherever else reviews are left. As always, our heartfelt thanks for listening, and we'll be back with more Mobile Tech Talk next week.
And now we're going to go knock ourselves out.
Yes.
Good. Yes. Good.
I'm also happy my name is Thaler now. Thanks, Michael.
Thaler. That dreadful Thaleron radiation.
Is that on the same line as Steven?
Stephen, yeah. Thaler and Stephen. In Barcelona.